I am Matt Mask, Red Deer, Alberta. They call me the Wild Horse.
Hello and welcome everyone. My name is Pradeep and you are watching Arm Wrestling News, and today I have the pleasure, the luxury to interview one of the most famous arm wrestlers in the world, one of the best arm wrestlers in North America, Wild Horse, Matt Mask. How are you doing, brother?
How's it going, Ben? Thanks for having me on again.
Thank you very much for accepting the invite, and I'll tell you guys how it went. I was like, brother, do you have time for an interview? And Matt was like, yeah, sure. When? It was like that conversation, like maybe 10 seconds.
You know, you got lucky because I've had a few people trying to get interviews with me the last couple of weeks, and my schedule's been all over the freaking map, and it just so happens I had a clear spot today. So You're lucky you filled her up. Hey?
Yeah. So, brother, I like to have one style of interviewing arm wrestlers, and that is when I invite someone for the first time on my channel, no matter how much is going on in the arm wrestling community, the current topics in arm wrestling, we try to keep less focus on that, but more focus on the arm wrestler's journey, how it began, and lifestyle of the arm wrestler for the first interview. And I'm quite sure when you join again on this channel, hopefully, then we'll talk about more about the current topics. But this interview format will be something like 30 questions with Matt Mask. Let's see if we can get them done in about 1 hour or 70 minutes at most. So let's start with the first question. I'd like to know about your background. Like, I would think that there are three main phases in your arm wrestling, in your life. Like, first career is before you actually started arm wrestling. I will not call it a career, but let's say you started at 16. So how are things going for Matt Mask when he was 0 to 16 years old? We are interested in that part of your life. And after that, the second phase, till you got really famous, you started competing in UL and WL, and the third phase, which is currently going on right now. So starting with the first phase.
First phase, I was just your typical Northern Ontario boy, right? Lived close to the bush. I spent most of my time in the trees trying to build forts and everything else out of all the wood I could find from all the construction sites in the area. And yeah, it was arm wrestling for me at the time wasn't really like existent at the time. I didn't really know much about it. There was obviously the movie Over the Top that had come out. I watched it at a young age, and it was always one of the, you know, you watch movies sometimes and you get the hair standing up on the back of your neck. For me as a kid, it was always one of those movies. It was always something I had an interest in. I didn't really know it had ever existed or anything at the time. It was actually 16 years old. They used to do Winter Carnival every year in my hometown. And it was a northern snow town winter carnival. They'd have, you know, the skidoo races, everything else. And one of the local pubs would always do a local arm wrestling tournament. And it was nothing sanctioned with any of the leagues or anything that was going on at the time. And it was just a bunch of old miners and loggers that would enter into this tournament. And I ended up telling my old man after watching the movie Over the Top for the previous years prior to that, hey, I want to enter into this tournament. And he's like, you're a fucking little kid. You're going to get your arm ripped off for a bunch of 40, 50-year-old miners. He says, no point, boy. So I ended up sneaking out the front door of the house. I snuck in the back door of the bar that day and ended up winning. It was just, didn't really know what the hell I was doing. All it was just straight side pressure. I had a quick kid at the time, naturally born with one of them quick twitch reflexes, and ended up winning the tournament. Won myself a t-shirt, three free beer, and like $65 or whatever. I think they all thought I was older at the time. So my old man walked in the bar and I'm sitting there drinking a beer with my new t-shirt and a fistful of cash, and asked him if he wanted a shot, but he refused. And yeah, then it was probably about 3 years after that. I was my last year of high school. I ended up wanting to play football. At the time, I was just an aggressive, you know, young kid full of testosterone, just wanted to smash things. And at the time, with everything that was going on in my hometown, they didn't really have any physical activity sports. The most physical sport they had was basketball. So I moved my last year of high school to Sudbury to play football, and ended up fucking entering into like the high school team or whatever, played with them. And then one of the coaches was like, you should come play with the men's league football team. So I went, played with the men's league football team during that summer. And it was actually after one of our practices, arm wrestling had come up, and everybody started talking about it. So I started arm wrestling with people, and I went through the whole football team. And it was one of the linemen, Dave Janikowski, that actually kind of took me underneath his wing. He's like, man, you got to give a gift for this. He's like, I'm going to look on the internet and I can see if I can find a tournament. I'm going to take you to one. And it turned out that there was a whole different world out there. They had sanctioned tournaments. There was WAFs. There was everything else going on. And the following weekend, there was actually a tournament in Wasaga Beach. I ended up, he took me in his truck. We drove down, entered into the tournament. Didn't really have a clue what the heck I was doing. And in that tournament, there was actually, I joined the super heavyweights because it was 200 pound and over at the time. There was no amateur divisions back then. And in my weight class, there was actually Earl Wilson, who was a multi-time world champion, national champ at the time. Mike Gould, who everybody knows, multi-time world champ, national champ at the time. And Devon Larratt was in that class as well. And it was actually the first tournament that Devon had ever beaten Mike Gould in. And Devon ended up winning the tournament. I think I came fourth to those three men. And the 3 weeks after that, there was provincials. I went to provincials, I ended up placing second, who was in my weight class again, but Devon. And yeah, I ended up placing second to him. And it's kind of been like that ever since, right? But yeah, I ended up placing second to him. We hung out for the night. He showed me a whole bunch of different things. And then it was after that, I didn't really know where I was going to go, what I was going to do after the football was over. And my cousin called me up and said, man, you got to come out to Alberta. And, you know, I can get you a job working on the rigs, making like $15 an hour. And at the time, that was big money, right?
How old were you when you got offered that job?
I was 19 years old.
Okay.
So yeah, it was right out of high school. I was just finished playing the men's league football, and I needed somewhere to go, something to do. So I ended up coming out here, and then it was about 2 years after that. I wasn't competing or anything. I always had the love for the sport. Always wanted to get more involved. Didn't know where to look. I wasn't computer savvy, so I didn't know how to look on the internet or anything at the time like that. And didn't even own a computer at the time. All I was doing was just working and hanging out, right? And my wife at the time, she ended up finding out that there was a tournament going on at the local mall. So I ended up jumping into it and ended up winning. They actually had an amateur division at that time. So I jumped in the amateurs, won the amateurs, and then I placed third, I believe it was, in the open category. And it was a man called Aaron Lagelle that had actually taken me underneath his wing, approached me and said, Matt, like, fuck, he says, you remind me of somebody. And he says, my brother used to train him. He says, Devon Larratt. I said, well, yeah. I said, I actually know Devon. I said, I came second to him a few years ago at provincials. He's like, oh, my brother used to train him. He introduced him in arm wrestling. And then Aaron kind of took me underneath his wing and introduced me to the whole arm wrestling thing, taught me the whole center of the hand, and then started venturing out to a bunch of other clubs in the area and started competing at the Alberta sanctioned events, went on to nationals, competed at nationals a couple times. And then it was always something I'd always had a huge love for, huge interest in, but it wasn't a major part of my life. It was always just kind of in the background. Everything else kind of came first. And then I went on so many years without losing in provincials or in Alberta for a long time. I said, I want to see how far I can go with this, and ended up deciding to start taking it to the next level, making it a little bit more time into my life, and ended up starting to travel down to the States and started chasing the big names at the time that everybody was watching, right? So, and the rest just kind of unfolded, right? Throughout the years, there were some ups and there were some downs and everything else in there, right? But life happens, and sometimes it has an effect on something you have a passion for, and sometimes you got to put it on the side and get back into it. But so yeah. And here we are now, East versus West, right?
East versus West, yeah. And the main things first, guys, the link to Matt's YouTube channel will be in the description. And East versus West, Matt is going to face Sandris Sedis from Latvia on November 19. The pay-per-view link is in the description, so please purchase that as well. And great introduction, by the way. And you mentioning, sometimes I interview people, some of them are like, yeah, I went to my first tournament, I got destroyed, everyone was beating me. And then I interview someone like you was saying that I won my first tournament. So the first one is good for motivation. Like, there are weak people as well who were weak and now they are world champions. And sometimes interviewing people like you, it is good to get a reality check that there are people who were genetically blessed and strong because of their childhood, whatever they did, the hard work they did, and they won their first competition. So I would like to ask you, when was your first viral or sort of breakout moment that made you really famous throughout the world? Was it Arm Wars? Was it UAL?
Like I said, I've been like a few people know who I was. It would have been the one match that actually really kind of took me off, I believe, and got me known throughout all North America and into Europe and everything else would have been UAL when I had my match against Brzenk for the UAL world title. I would say that's the one that really kind of took my career to the next level. I say prior to that, everybody kind of had an idea who I was. They were kind of watching me out of the corner of their eye, but there wasn't really, oh, we got to watch this motherfucker. It was kind of, oh, let's kind of pay attention to him, right? But yeah, that match I had with Brzenk was the one that actually, I would say, completely took my career to the next level and kind of got me out there, right?
So once you mentioned that I enjoy my day job because I'm really good at it. So you mentioned you're working at an oil rig, and how do you like measure your like greatness at your job? Like how do you know you are better than the other guys, and what does your job typically look like, without going into too much details, because lot of people just like me are not going to understand how that system works. So without going into detail, what is your work like day to day? How many hours do you have to give to your job?
It all depends. I'm kind of on call with my job. I wouldn't say I'm better than everybody else at my job. We got a ton of guys that are phenomenal at their job, right? They're really good at it. But I am good at what I do because I don't get in shit lots, right? I'm never told what the fuck did you do that for and why the hell are you doing that. So it's usually taking a good approach. There's usually a good job or an attaboy or a handshake at the end, and we'll see you on the next one, right? So that's how I know I do a good job at what I do. There's not a whole lot of gratification for doing what I do, but I'm on call 24/7. I get a schedule 18 on, 6 off. In our busy seasons, them 6 days I end up working through. I don't have actual set amount of hours I work. We get a call. Sometimes it's, you're up all day waiting for the call, 11 o'clock at night. Yeah, hit the road. We'll drive 3, 4, 5 hours to get to work, end up spending 4 or 5 hours going over tools, and we can be up for another 12 or 14 hours getting everything to bottom, and then we set all our tools. So there's not really a set schedule. Sometimes they're 24-hour days, sometimes they're 16-hour days, sometimes a guy's on location for 72 hours and you're up for 3/4 of it. All depends on what's going on, right? But it's not as physical as it used to be when I used to work the drilling rigs the first 10 years in the oil field. I actually ran a brake handle, worked in drilling rigs, worked from a lease handle all the way up to a driller relief push. And that's kind of like a rig manager. And then I kind of ventured off into running tools. Been with these guys for 12 years now. Awesome company, treat me really good. So it's that's kind of where it is. I can't go into too much detail with confusing the fuck out of everybody. So
that's why I asked. So one question about your social media, especially your YouTube. Why are you not like really active on your YouTube? Sometimes I wonder, like when I watch you or maybe even John Brzenk, you guys can just go live on YouTube and you can gather a lot of views from that, maybe a couple of $100, and still you are not doing that. So it makes me think, man, these guys must be making some really good money from their job. They do not care about YouTube money at all. So what is the scene with you?
I definitely make way more money on my real job than I do off YouTube. And for me, it's like YouTube, arm wrestling. It's not a guarantee. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I can pull in a match. I could end up injuring something. That's it. You know what I mean? I could be out of it for 6 months, a year. It's not any guarantee money for me. And for me, knowing that my family's always going to be taken care of is always been a priority for me. So with my work, it's a guarantee, right? I get my salary, I get my wages plus my bonuses for every time I go to a job. So it's it's more the security, knowing that my family's always going to be taken care of. That's what's got to come first for me. For YouTube, it was never about the money. It was more just to have fun with it, right? Just something, see how much I can get out there, how many people do subscribe, how many people tune in to watch, just something to do, right? And when I do have time, I've honestly wanted to do more lately, but I'm so fucking busy between my job, my kids playing the ring-at games, everything else, like driving my one kid around to her ring-at tournaments, getting stuff done around the house. Last week, we got a shit ton of fucking snow here, so I've been shoveling snow for like 3-4 days straight whenever I do have a day off. Not just at my house, but I also own 2 Airbnbs that I run on a full-time basis. So there's always have something on the go. I don't ever have a day where I can just sit on the couch with my phone in my hand, watch YouTube videos or snack. Like, I don't even watch TV. If I turn on the TV, it's at the end of the night to cuddle or watch a movie for 35 minutes or something while I fall asleep, right? So it's like, I don't really have a lot of time. So for me, it's just more to do something fun, right? Like, I'm going to try to blog a little bit more of this Turkey trip on the way out. You know, there's going to be a bunch of great people there. Maybe I'll have a few conversations, have some jokes and laughs, see if I can post some stuff from there. But it's more just kind of a hobby, fun, something for me to do when I have time, try to interact with the people that do give a fuck what I have to say. And kind of let them, keep them a little more informed on what's going on, right? So
But for me, it is almost the same when we talk about how much time we have in a day, because I also have a full-time job. I run YouTube channel. Now I'm also managing Engin new East versus West Arm Wrestling channel. I'm uploading stuff on it. It takes a lot of time. Like, I haven't switched on my TV for almost a year. Like, I plan on watching movies. I used to love to play video games when I was a kid. So I thought, I wish I could get those memories back. And I bought a PlayStation and I thought I'll be playing it, but no time. I haven't got time to plug it in for almost a year, more than a year. So time is it is same for me. So I'd like to ask you, what are your 3 favorite matches? I know you already answered what were your breakout moments. So maybe the answer can be same for this question as well. But I'd like to know more about your thought process. Do you enjoy the matches that you have won, or maybe the matches that you have lost as well, just because you got something or maybe a lot out of those matches, just because those were really, really close? So 3 favorite matches.
That I had pulled in myself.
Yeah, your matches.
Obviously my Brzenk match, that was the one that really kind of took me to the next level, got me recognized. People wanted me a little more involved, so that was obviously the highlight of mine. I'd say my one match with me and Devon, we had a WL where she was back and forth. That was definitely a highlight of my career. Any match I have with Devon is always kind of a highlight of my career. We always have a good match. It's good entertainment. Most people that don't actually follow my YouTube channel or Devon's YouTube channel and don't really know much about us think we actually hate each other. And like, we're actually really, really good buddies. But I think that's where we're able to just kind of be a little more free when we're on the table. Know that we're not going to offend the other person on the other side with what the actions come through, because at the end of it, we know bygones be bygones. It's just part of the game, right? So my matches with Devon, always a highlight. And I would say my other third one probably would have been, it's not so much it was excitement for me or anything else, but my most recent one I had with Prudnik is the one that's kind of resonated the most with me, where it's kind of lit a whole different fire underneath my ass and kind of allowed me to realize that there's a whole different other game out there that needs to be played sometimes, and open my eyes up to a little bit more of that. So it's one I believe that's it's not I'm super proud of, but I believe I've learned a lot from it, if you know what I mean. Like, I believe that one made me a smarter arm wrestler on my thinking process. And you know what? We'll find out right in the next couple of years to come how much it actually impacted it. So, those are my.
Yeah, all of them were amazing matches. I wouldn't say so much about the Prudnik match because there were not much stuff to enjoy in that
There
match.
wasn't much of a fucking match, right? Like,
Yeah, except for your cursing. There were a lot of highlight videos, funny videos made out of that. That was probably one of the most famous matches out of that event.
And it wasn't even the match. Like, because there was no match after goal had been said, there was nothing really that actually inspired, but it was everything leading up to the goals, right?
Yeah.
Is where I had gathered most of my information from. So,
and you learned a lot, and maybe it is going to end badly for Sandris. We will see how it goes. So, any loss that you would like to avenge? This was the question from one of the viewers on this channel. Any loss that you would like to avenge? I think the John Brzenk match is possible right now. I think it can be a good match, or Todd Hutchings match. Maybe. What is the loss that you would like to avenge?
I don't really have a huge loss I want to avenge. It's once it's gone, it's in the past. Like obviously Prudnik, right? That's just because I didn't feel we were able to get a match. That's a match I want back. Whether there's a possibility if that's going to happen in the next year or so, but that's something I really want back because I wanted to see what I could have done with them had we had gotten the setup that should have had. And I feel like I never got that opportunity throughout, if that makes any sense. So that's a match I want to get back because in my eyes, it doesn't feel like it actually happened, right? So.
The next question would be, Devon once said very recently that Matt's life is in order right now. And when Matt's life is in order, he's a really, really dangerous human being. So what did exactly he mean by your life being in order? Like if you are okay with talking about some personal stuff, like why wasn't it in order before now? And what you have changed?
Just chaos, right? Like people, sometimes things happen in people's lives where they second guess decisions and stuff they've made and not be able to feel that they're comfortable enough in their own skin and their own environment to actually live life in the moment, if that makes any sense. Without going into too much detail, I feel over the years of work I've done on myself with COVID and everything else, I'm in a comfortable spot in my life where I'm not really struggling with anything mentally. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like I'm not second guessing everything. I'm not unsure about shit. If I do get thrown a curveball, I have my 2-3 minutes where I'm kind of vibrating a bit, and then I'm able to let it go and think more clearly. So, and that's just personal growth. I think that's maturity. Sometimes we got to step back and take a look at our life, our childhood, everything leading up to what got us where we were that day, and just kind of reassess everything, right? So, and it was something I had done just because I didn't feel I was where I wanted to be in life, and I had taken 6 months out of my life, and I had really concentrated on just trying to figure out what made me happy and who I actually was, right? I wasn't really sure who the fuck I was. You know what I mean? I knew I was doing great things. I was capable of great things, but I didn't really know exactly what I had wanted for myself. So it was more about what I was trying to do for other people around me, right? So, and I feel, I've gotten to a place in my life where I'm just comfortable with everything now, right? I'm comfortable with my past. I'm comfortable with what my future has to offer. I'm comfortable with where I am right now, right? So, and that has allowed me to just, I feel, excel everywhere in my life. So,
yeah. And I'd like to get back to your rivalry with Devon, because you have had some amazing matches. And I remember when I was watching the WL 2018 Super Match, in the beginning, I was supporting Devon. Like I was all out Devon. I want Devon to win. But then as the match proceeded, as when you won the second round, your first round, it was the second round of the match, and you got all fired up and you were pinning Devon once again after you've already pinned him during the match. Then things got really, really heated. Before that, we saw Devon was in kind of a playful mode, but then he also got serious. And after that, the third round, when you actually got the pin and Devon was sliding his elbow like 10 inches off the back of the pad to avoid your press, and it was just a foul, just a foul.
Better, right?
Yeah, not a loss. Like I immediately changed my mind, man. I've never wanted Matt to win so bad. Like I immediately changed my mindset. So have you ever thought like if Devon wasn't in my path, like I would have been the guy, like I would have been number one in North America, maybe I would have beaten someone. Have you ever thought about it like that?
You know what, I don't know, like it's crossed my mind, but at the same token, one of the reasons why I believe I've gotten as good
Better.
as I have is
Yeah.
because he's given me something I'm always striving for, right?
Yeah.
Like every time I get a little better, all of a sudden he'll pull something a little more out of his hat or whatever, right? So it's no, I honestly, if there's anybody I've always I'm okay with coming second behind, it's him, right? Like I love the dude like a brother. The amount that he's taught me, not even so much on the table, but just about myself as an arm wrestler, just from our matches and the mistakes that he's caught me making myself in. It's, you know, I mean, no, I wouldn't change it. So, you know, and there will be a day again. I could guarantee, I don't know when it's going to happen, but we will face each other again one day.
Yeah.
So it's gonna happen. But right now you know what I mean? Right now we're on the same team, right? So we're on the west and we're going into the east to take over there, right? So but eventually we're gonna have to figure it out again, right? So
How much are you weighing right now? I know you have been up to 256, 57 pound. That has been your highest weight. Where exactly are you right now?
that was yeah, the biggest I ever was 257, and that was for about 2 hours before I took a big dump after I had a big meal. And right now I'm 249, 250 in the mornings.
Okay.
So I'm gonna be coming in actually not having to worry about cutting. I'm actually gonna be coming in with a full belly. I'm thinking I'm gonna be weighing in right at pretty much right within a couple ounces of 253. So, and by the time we go to compete that evening, I could possibly be as big as 255, 256 is what I'm anticipating. So,
Yeah.
but it takes time. I was expecting to be a lot heavier by now, just with the amount of training, eating, everything else I'm trying to do. But it takes so fucking long. My metabolism is way too quick to even even begin to think about the 260 pounds right now, right? So, but it's coming eventually, right?
And like everyone says, and we have also seen that metabolism kind of slows down with age, and still now you're like that. So maybe when you're 20, it would have been at another level. At that time, it would be even more difficult for you to gain weight, I'm guessing.
You never know, right? You never know. Only time will tell.
So I'd like to ask you about, maybe we'll get to the Sandris question later on, but before that, let's ask some training questions. Like I've asked a few people, many arm wrestlers actually, not few, about their training progress over last couple of decades, and everyone answers the same, that like they were not really paying attention to what they were doing back in the 2000s. So I'd like to ask you that question, from since 2010, how has your training progressed? Have you changed something? More table time, less table time, more gym time? Like what exactly does your training look like, and what was it looking like 10 years ago?
It's changed a bit. Hasn't changed significantly. I'd say obviously more dedication, and then I've taken up a little more weight training. Like I've been making weight training a lot more, priority lifting weights a lot more. Still doing about the same amount of table time as I was before, but yeah, I've incorporated more weights, heavier weights, less reps into my training. So, but other than that, not much has really changed as for my favorite exercises. and the amount of table time and stuff I'm doing on the side. So, and obviously table time and weight training, I don't ever go in with a notebook. I don't ever do max reps. I don't really care, because each week sometimes you're more beat up than the others, depends on how many people you have coming to practice and everything else. And I still base everything off of my table time, how I'm feeling from table time. If I feel like I didn't get a good enough training session when we had a practice, I'll pick up heavier weights and I'll try to do more reps with them. If I feel like I'm beat up and I had a really good training session, then I'll just grab lighter weights and I'll do lighter reps, right? But I am leaning more towards heavier weight compared to what I used to do. So
Yeah. So guys like Devon and Ermes Gasparini, they always talk about how good your hand is. Like they always keep on talking about like how amazing it is to arm wrestle with you, your hand. But have you ever thought that maybe sometimes if the match gets on your arm, you may have a disadvantage there? And have you tried to work on it? Like the Europeans do a lot of heavy seated curls with 100 kg. Like, do you ever focus on arm? Like not only just hand, like if that match goes arm to arm, if somebody forces you in a hook, would you try to match him there? Have you done anything about that?
I've been doing a lot of training on my arm, just trying to strengthen my arm up especially over the last 6 to 8 months. For me, big biceps has never really been easy to come by. I used to do biceps all the time, and the only thing that would grow on me was my forearms. So I don't know why that is. Maybe because my arms are hanging down and everything just flows to my forearms. I don't know what it is. But I have been doing a lot more holds, my training sessions, everything else, a lot more on the inside as opposed to everything cranking out. So my inside game has definitely gotten tenfold better compared to what it used to be 5 years ago. But my ace is still my top rope. Like if I do believe I'm a lot better now. If I do get stuck inside, I can hang on a little bit more, where I can get myself to a position where I can take the hand again from there. But as for banging with these guys that are world champions, inside game and dragging them to the pad inside, probably not going to happen. It's more likely that we could get inside and I'll take the wrist from when they're deep inside a hook, peel the wrist right back, and then pin them, right? So it's still my hand's my bread and butter, right? You know, and the thing is, there's not many people that can get me into a hook. So it's like, you know, if you can get me into a hook, then your hand is actually really good. You know what I mean? It's not, you know, like you need to have as good or better hand than me to be able to get me into a hook in the first place. So, yeah. And if that's the case, it don't matter where we fucking go, right?
So there was one funny comment in the community post. Somebody asked that, are you worried that if your opponent rubs your head once again, your hair are going to fall off?
It's in to stay now. I've tested it. I rub it every day now to make sure. And I don't have any hair in my hands. So no, I'm not worried about it at all. So, and I'm really not worried about it because I don't plan on fucking losing anytime soon. So,
yeah. And one question that I like to ask all of the guests: what pisses you off about arm wrestling or arm wrestlers, anything in general related to arm wrestling? What is that one thing that you really do not like?
Arm wrestling underneath the table. I don't fucking care for that. As far as I'm concerned, if your arm is fucking straight, it's over, right? It's all about keeping it tight as far as I'm concerned. So, yeah. But you know what? If it falls where it's in the rules with certain leagues, then okay. Sometimes it's in the league rules where it's not allowed and they still let it go. That kind of shit bothers me, right? But it's, yeah, I don't believe that's arm wrestling. So,
right, fair enough. So, Matt, let's get into some controversial stuff now. I'll name three arm wrestlers. All three of them have said something controversial or not so respectful about you. First of all, you let me know if you are aware of that or not. Number one is Irakli. Number two is Lachlan Adair. Number three is Levan Saginashvili. Are you worried? Are you are you knowledgeable about these three situations? Like what they said about you?
I know who they are. Honestly, I don't really give a fuck what they think. So, like, first of all, yeah, okay. Well, I want to hear what they have to say first. Let's go.
Irakli, I think you made a video about him just that he doesn't want to face you because of cursing and you are not on his level. And you have already kind of answered that. So I would like to know your stance once again on that topic if some of the viewers have missed that video of yours.
At the time, it got me a little more heated at the time just because it was more kind of the way he approached it. Oh, you're not on my level. It's you need to be able to beat this person in order to be able to get a chance at me. And initially, it was he didn't want to pull me because I was too vulgar. And then all of a sudden, he agreed to the match. Okay, yeah, we can do it. And then all of a sudden, he changed his mind again after he beat Krasi, saying, no, I don't want to pull him now because he's not on my level. So that kind of bothered me. And it was, I felt like I had something to prove. But at the same token, right now, I could care less. Like, I really could care less because as far as I'm concerned, he's below what I'm trying to accomplish right now. Irakli's in that 100 kg class or whatever it is for East versus West. And my main focus is 115 kg class. So why do I even, you know what I mean? Even if he gets to the champion in the 100 kg class, I'm going for that number one spot in the 115 kg class. So really, he's not even on the level I'm going for right now. So I could really care less about that situation.
Will you be willing to accept a match? Like Engin always talks about this transitioning from class to class in his event, that it is entirely possible. So if a good match gets offered to you at 105 kilos, I think you should be able to cut down to that weight very easily. It is like what, 33 pounds? I don't know the exact in pounds, but 105 kilos, and the second class is 115. So would you be willing to participate in both classes or only 115 for now?
See, I've been on a mission for the last 4 years trying to go up in weight. So I want to see what I can do as a 260 and a 270 pound man. So for me to put all this effort in for how many years to just fucking piss it all away for one match, I don't know. I'd have to think about it. It'd have to be something that would definitely want to pique my interest for me to want to do it, right? So
till about 3-4 years ago, it used to be the same for Devon as well. He was hardly going up to 265 pounds. And now he never goes below 260 pounds, even during his off season. Maybe it will happen with you as well. So the second comment about Lachlan, we're not going to go into details. I'm not going to mention what he said, but it was kind of very, very disrespectful words and without any logic. He was just like almost accepting that I just hate Matt Mask. That's it. He had no reason for that. Or at least he didn't mention any reason for that. And third point, Levan Saginashvili. Levan was asked about, like, you were not the center of discussion at all. I don't know how he suddenly brought you up. So Engin Terzi asked Levan's prediction about Sandris versus you for East versus West. And Levan was like, okay, even my cousin who is 19 years old, Bacho Saginashvili, he will also beat Matt Mask. That came out of nowhere. So what do you have to say to reply that?
I'd say tell him to put his money where his mouth is. Line it up. So I honestly could care less what the fuck he thinks. I care less what the fuck anybody thinks. Honestly, when they say shit like that, it kind of fuels me a little bit more and makes it that much more exciting to me when I am going to grab their little glory boy and I'm going to fucking smash their hand to the pad. And it's going to be like, what the fuck do you have to say now? Right? So it's, you know what I mean? I could care less. I'm going to let my actions speak for themselves. So It's
Yeah.
and I think maybe it's more because of what I had to say about his little glory boy. And I think maybe he's a little more sensitive, right? Maybe because me and Devon are such good buddies, him and Irakli are such good buddies, and me and Devon made a few jokes about Levan and them when Devon was getting ready for Levan. So maybe Levan feels the same way that Lachlan does.
So just to make it clear and official, if that match actually gets offered to you, you versus Levan's cousin Bacho Saginashvili. I've never watched him arm wrestle, but I've heard his name a lot. Will you be willing to accept that match if it gets
Yeah,
really
I'll fucking accept that match.
East versus
money.
West?
Absolutely.
I think you should get a camera out when you are there at East versus West, and you should ask Levan about this. Yeah.
If I win, I get to shave Levan's back.
I think you should just get a camera rolling and you should ask Levan about this match. Like, let's make this happen after you win against Sandris. Okay, so talking about you're mentioning you're in a good state and somewhat maybe has to do with quitting smoking. Are you still on that mission, or were you able to maintain that record, or are you?
Dude, that is the fucking. Isn't that the $1 million question? It's a struggle. I'll fucking tell you, it's a struggle. Am I 100% success? No. Do I still have weak times? Yes. So I'm still trying. I've cut back a lot, like a lot. But no, I'm still smoking a little bit sometimes. It's a process. It's a real process. And the biggest thing that's stopping me from doing it is completely, utterly stopping altogether, is because I don't even enjoy my own company sometimes. So I can imagine what other people would think. So it's more to keep the peace, right?
Yeah.
So with the general public.
So, brother, let's talk about your comeback match. I'm calling it a comeback because you were on a losing streak before you faced Krasi, and it was the same for him as well. Like, it was I was saying that it may be one of the most important matches in both of your careers. It doesn't look like that on paper because you have faced greater opponents, you have faced and probably beaten better opponents than Krasi, and same goes for Krasi. He has faced and beaten probably higher level opponents than you, like he's beaten Levan in the past. But still, I think that it was the most important match for you. Like, will you say that was your best prepared version because you were going into that match like really seriously? And how much did that match matter to you?
It meant a lot. Biggest part on what it meant for me was what direction I was going to be taking my arm wrestling career, right? If I was going to keep gunning for the top, if I deserved to even try to gun for the top, and should I take a step back and maybe go more to a local level, national, maybe, North America level, and slowly work my way back up. So it was, yeah. And once you get into a slump like that for so long, you really start to fucking question, like, what the fuck am I doing? Even though the two previous losses I had taken prior to that, one of them was Prudnik, who is the 253-pound super heavyweight fucking champion, or the heavyweight champion. And the other loss prior to that was, besides the Tim Brzenk one, but I don't really count that. Just, I think there was controversial, whatever. It was too much. We were both in the game too much. And the other one was Ermes. You know what I mean? So it's like, look where Ermes is. So I'm losing. I lost to guys that are both considered the top 5 in the fucking world in my eyes, anyways. You know what I mean? So, does that mean that you lose to 2 guys in the top 5 or no longer in the top 50 anymore? Or maybe you need to start working your way back down from the 20 and chipping away back up, seeing where a guy's at, right? So it was, for me, it was huge just to see where I needed to be. I do believe that Krasi is one of the gatekeepers for that elite division. I also believe that as well about Marcio Barbosa as well. Marcio, if you can sneak a win or two on Marcio, you deserve to be in that category. So it was more just to see what direction I wanted to go with my career moving forward. So, and what level I wanted to try to attain. And where I am mentally now, where I'm feeling physically now, I'm feeling better now than I did when I pulled Krasi. When I pulled Krasi, I felt better in my other previous matches I had for probably the previous 3 years. So I feel like I'm actually starting to come in my own again, and the best version of me is going to be found for everybody very, very soon, right? So,
right. And let's quickly talk about some arm wrestling organizations. I'd like to ask you some quick rapid fire question. Actually, one question about all of the organizations: WL, PL, WAF, King of the Table, and East versus West. I'd like to know one thing that you like about all of these, and one thing that you would love for them to improve upon. Like starting with WL.
WL, I like their thumbs down, close their hands, no holds barred, grip and rip. To me, that was the fucking best.
And one thing,
there was no manipulation, looking till you get the best grip you can get. It was thumbs down, close your hands, go. You had 1 second to get the grip that you wanted, and it was fucking on. There was no feeling, arm wrestling your opponent for 30, 40 seconds before you even go to compete. That I love that about WL. I thought that was the best. To me, it was like no holds barred arm wrestling, right?
And one thing that they could have improved upon.
Definitely a little more stricter with some of the rules that they had laid out. Some calls should have been called. Obviously, people had seen them. People always talk about them. So I believe that a little more stricter with the rules that they did lay out. I liked how they did have loose rules, but the rules that they did have, they should have enforced a little better. Right?
Yeah. And WAF, I'm quite sure that this year's WAF may be the one that you have had most focus upon, because your opponent was going to compete there. So one thing that you like about WAF, and one thing that you don't, that you want them to improve.
The one thing I like about WAF is they are very professional. They do stick with what they say they're going to be doing. One thing I don't like is the micro foul, their elbow pads. Same thing with PAL. It'll be the same answer with them. Is their elbow pads and everything are so stiff that there is no room for error in any way whatsoever. So either softer elbow pads to compensate for little micro fouls, or micro fouls, let them go, right? Because nothing's worse than fucking watching a match for 10 minutes and seeing it end on fouls. So
I do not agree with the part where you're saying that you should let micro fouls go away. I don't like that, but that idea that you can have squishy elbow pads just like WL so that it can compensate for the elbow fouls, I think that is a must.
Yeah, and that's if they're not going to switch the pads, then let the micro ones go, or just get softer pads. And then if it's a micro foul, it's actually a foul, right?
Yeah.
So
the negative aspect could be the same about PAL and top 8. One thing that you like about the top 8 format.
The same thing, their professionalism. Like what they say they're going to do, they're not. They don't really play any favoritism or anything like that. This is exactly what it is, right? So the rules are set out in stone and they follow them to a T. But at the same token, it's fucking painful as hell to watch, right? Like you're pulling teeth out, watching something for 30 minutes and not one fucking pin has happened sometimes, right? That's one of the most painful things, right? So.
And King of the Table, same question for them as well. And would you like to compete there?
Yeah, of course. Who the fuck doesn't want to compete there? For me, I believe that King of the Table is the pinnacle for what we have. Just it's where it's just a smaller group, the atmosphere, everything else. It's, to me, it's the pinnacle spotlight right now, right? So yeah, of course I want a chance. Do I deserve a chance yet? No, I don't believe I do. Am I going to deserve a chance? Absolutely. And when that chance comes, I will be taking it. But
Lachlan
until my
Adair.
time's ready.
Matt Mask versus Lachlan Adair at King of the Table.
Oh,
6.
fuck, you think he got steamrolled by fucking Sandris? Holy shit. Fuck, that motherfucker be looking for his arm for a week in the fucking parking lot. Okay? Oh, fuck. Yeah.
All right. So, anything that you would like them to improve?
I think it's really they're okay. The only thing would be the rules a little more laid out in stone. As much as I loved watching Dave Chaffee Vitaly match,
Yeah.
I believe that was probably one of the best, most entertaining matches to watch. I don't think I'd ever been more on the edge of my seat with my heart rate up and down, screaming and yelling at my fucking iPhone, sitting in my truck on fucking site, watching that match, like as much as I was watching that match. But there were some calls that were like, what?
Confusing.
Like the javelin? What the fuck is the javelin? Like, was that made up on the fucking spot or what? Like, I had never even fucking heard of that before.
Yeah.
Right? So, you know, as much as it turned that match around and made it way more fucking entertaining, it's like, what the fuck was that called? Right? So why would somebody drive your opponent's elbow off the pad when you're transitioning into a press, right? So they need to just figure it out a little bit more, right? So, and that all comes with trial and error, right? So I'm sure they sat back and looked at it and went, I don't know what the fuck we were thinking on that one. But, you know, it also made for probably one of the most entertaining matches in the history of fucking arm wrestling as well. So.
And East versus West, finally.
I actually really like the way East versus West does it. They don't have a whole minute and a half to take a grip. It's 30 seconds. You're on ref's grip. It's WAF, but without the mumbo jumbo bullshit. It is somewhat strict in a way, but it also lets some shit slide where it is still entertaining. Yeah. You're actually seeing matches happen as opposed to, you know, matches being won on fouls. Matches taking 30 minutes because there's so many fouls taking place. So I think right now East versus West probably has the best format out of all of them. They're kind of a combination besides the no holds barred grip and rip like WL had. I believe they're a happy medium of every one of them leagues all together in one. And I think they're setting the way for many more leagues to come, I believe. So.
And what can they improve upon? I'll help you. I'll try to help you a little bit. Less matches, maybe 10 matches.
What's that?
Maybe having less matches, like 10 matches, so that it is easy for the viewers to focus on what is going on. Because I've seen
maybe less matches, but but at the same token, like this is, you know, like this is like the Super Bowl of fucking arm wrestling, right? Like this is
stars.
You've never seen anything like this. Like you can pick any 3 of these matches on this next event per se, and put them at any other fucking event, any 3 of them, and they are 3 of the best fucking, you know what I mean? You can take any 3 of these matches and put them on King of the Table, and they'll probably still sell out, right? So it's, like he could spread it out, but I get why he's trying to do so many matches, because he's trying to get more of a ranking system, kind of more of, you know, to see where everybody is and where they should be throughout different matches and place going forward. So I like how he's doing that. So no, I wouldn't change it. I think those, you know, and it's not like he does it every weekend or every month. It's every couple months. You can sit back with a bag of popcorn and chill out with a bunch of buddies and watch arm wrestling for 4 or 5 hours fucking straight. I think that's awesome.
Yeah.
you know. So
And I'd like to know your thoughts, like general thoughts about the current level of arm wrestling, like the pace at which it is growing, and about the fans of arm wrestling. Like I've heard some people, like Don Idris, also say that arm wrestling fans are not like the fans of any other sport. They are really hardcore into promoting matches. Like you just need to promote, you just need to announce an arm wrestling match, and the community will do the promotion for you. You do not have to do anything by yourself. So where do you see the state of arm wrestling in 2 3 years from now? And like, are you happy with the growth? Is it something new that you have noticed over last 1 decade?
I think the last decade in general has had major amounts of growth for arm wrestling, more than the previous 50 years prior to that with arm wrestling. Just the biggest peak where it really started to get noticed more was when WL had come out. WL was getting it on ESPN a lot more, and there was a huge push. And then it kind of went like this. Now we got after COVID. I believe actually COVID helped arm wrestling.
Yeah, a lot.
Because so many more sports and everything weren't being active anymore, and people started getting bored looking for something else to watch, and all of a sudden they see about this arm wrestling, and even matches they could have went back 10 years ago, and they're all fresh and new to them. They didn't realize what was going to happen. So it brought a lot more people into the sport. It's a lot more people watching for it. And then now you've got East versus West, you've got King of the Table, PAL, the big players at the time that I believe really started to put arm wrestling on the map again, with WAL and PAL doing their thing. They've kind of dropped off, but with East versus West and Core Sports, they've kind of picked up right where they've left off. And I think we're getting more momentum now than we have in probably 4 years prior. Like pre-COVID, I believe that it's getting more and more and more momentum. I'm not sure the exact numbers and logistics, but like you talk to Core Sports guys, and you talk to Engen, and each pay-per-view that they're doing, they're slightly getting more views each time, right? Yeah. So the more views you're getting each time, that's progress, right? So, and I believe that's a really, really good number. So 3 years from now, who fucking knows where it could be, right? And I think that arm wrestling is at a spot right now with the fans, how they are towards their athletes of choice, how there's a lot of trolling and headbutting and everything going on, is pretty much where UFC was about 15 years ago when they first started to come out, and the fans were the ones that would have all the rivalries and the trolling going on between them. Mm-hmm. And it really started to get its push. I think we're kind of at that mid fucking era where it's really going to start to take off. And these next 3 to 5 years is, in my eyes, probably going to be one of the best times to be able to be part of arm wrestling, just for the amount of growth that I'm hoping that we're going to end up seeing over the next couple of years, right? So, and you know what, to be able to be part of, you know, somewhat in that spot, like when it's all taking place, is fucking awesome, right? Just to be able to be somewhat part of it. So.
Mm-hmm. And I also think that this is the fastest growing sport right now. If we talk about strength sports, especially, I don't think any other sport is witnessing such a high level of growth. And sometimes arm wrestlers do not understand their own value. Like Devon and John were doing a live stream, just sitting together and watching, and they're like 80,000 views on that thing. The amount of different opportunities that you can create from it, if there are 100,000 people sitting that are willing to watch you, the ways in which you can monetize that thing, I think this is one thing that arm wrestlers really, especially the elite level arm wrestlers, they need to learn about it. I'm not sure if many arm wrestlers know how to monetize that thing. If 100,000 people are willing to watch, I don't think any arm wrestler needs to have a job. If 100,000 people are willing to sit there and listen to what you're saying.
100,000 people watching them not do anything, just fucking talk. We're not even arm wrestling.
Yeah, right? just talking.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, and I also think that COVID, I didn't really like what happened. Like it was way like almost a level of a scam from the government, I think so. But what it did for the arm wrestling community is how many YouTube channels it created. Neil Pickup was like, nothing is happening. Let me just call up Engin Jersey and let's create a podcast where we can talk together. Engin was off internet. He was not talking about arm wrestling for like 3, 4, 5 years maybe. and then Neil got him back. Why? Because of COVID. And then let's see what Angin is doing right now. Maybe if that COVID thing didn't happen, we wouldn't be seeing East versus West right now. So I think it was a blessing for arm wrestling community. So brother, let's now move on to final questions about East versus West, starting off with your own match against Sandris Sedis. What is the level of a study that you have done about your opponent? What do you know about Sandris? Can you give our viewers a brief introduction about him?
I know he's very versatile. I know he's a jack of all trades. I don't believe he's a master of one. So for me, that tells me that advantage me, right? So he is very versatile. He can pull in a hook. He can pull in a top roll. He can pull with his wrist. He can pull without his wrist. He can pull anywhere on the table, which for many opponents, I believe is really screws with people, right? So for me, I don't believe he has one area that is way more significantly stronger than what my main area is. So I know enough about him where he's a dangerous person, where he can go anywhere, but I don't believe he's going to be able to get through my hand. So he needs to get either around my hand, over my hand, or out of my hand in order to be able to do what he needs to do in order to be able to beat me, and I don't think he's going to. So I think my hand is going to be stronger than his hand no matter what direction he goes.
So at first when this match was announced, I was like, Sandris is going to beat, because you were on a losing streak back then. I was like, Sandris is going to beat Mask easy. It is going to look bad. But then I saw you beat Krasi. And I was also saying that I don't think Matt can deal with Sandris. But the way you just beat Krasi, and after that, especially after that, we saw Krasi won WAF at 100 kg. So we already know that Matt can beat a 100 kg WAF champion. It is a level above. Now we are facing a 110 kg WAF champion. So maybe there is going to be some level increase, and there can be said some things about 100 kg championship that Krasi won because Ongarbai was not there. He was the famous to win that. But you have proven that you can just not only beat the WAF champion, but you just ran over him. It wasn't even close. Like we couldn't even get the level of difference between you guys. Now I think anything can happen in this match. And one question about this match, you said that he will not be able to deal with your hand. What if you take his wrist? Do you think there is still any possibility for him to jam his elbow? And because we have seen him win some matches like that in this year's WAF as well, and still beat you, do you think that is a possibility?
It's a possibility. It's a possibility, but I've also gotten a lot smarter. I've been working a lot on when people get to that area with me, and there's a difference between taking somebody's hand, just taking their hand, but taking their hand at the same time as you're separating them away from the body as well, right? So, like, I don't plan on just taking his hand. I plan on taking him to my side of the table. So the only way that he's actually going to be able to get his shoulder and everything committed behind, his shoulder is going to have to be over top of my elbow pad, right? So yeah. So I don't know. I plan on going in and I plan on making a statement where I don't feel no matter what direction he goes. And I believe that by the end of it, that's probably going to be his only option he has, is trying to drive his shoulder in behind, because I'm going to be taking his hand so bad. So, and trying to commit his shoulder behind his arm before I get him to the other side of the table. So.
And what are your thoughts about Devon Larratt versus Evgeny Prudnik? Like, you have faced both of them. You know what their strengths are. You know what their weaknesses can be. Who do you think is going to win this match and why?
I never really did actually get a chance to feel Evgeny. So I can't really go say much for that, but I do know that my bigger brother is not as humble as I am when we get to the table.
Yeah.
When it comes with allowing your opponent to get what they want. So, and like Prudnik is, in my eyes, he was one of the best I had ever felt with manipulation of the grip. But Devon, with the manipulation of the grip, he sets a bar above none, right? So if he feels that your opponent is manipulating in any way, he can up it and up it and up it and up it. So I don't see Prudnik's wizardry working on Devon. And I think we might actually see a real good match and see exactly what happens. But obviously I'm going with Devon. Obviously.
I wanted to ask.
I don't think.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you something like arm wrestlers always mention that styles make matches. It was a different time. Different styles can have different impact on the super match. But my question is, can a difference in strength that is that much visible in some super matches? I know there is a big time frame between these matches, but do you think that much difference can be ignored? Let's talk about the Toddzilla match. Devon is redlining against Toddzilla and he's into his King's move, gets pinned a couple of times. The pin doesn't get called. And when Prudnik faces Toddzilla, who is supposedly better, I know Devon is also has also gotten better since then, but Toddzilla has also gotten better. And Prudnik doesn't even feel Toddzilla. I know there can be a lot of things, and you've already said some things about the setup, like it was good manipulation from Prudnik. But we saw that like there was one moment where Prudnik was easily beating you, and when we see you going up against Devon, Devon is again same redlining. So can that much visible difference in strength, can it be neglected just in the name of the King's move or styles make matches thing?
Yes, no. A lot depends on how a person feeling that day too. Like there's such a small difference between people when you get to that elite level on who can take a match. Like the matter of just getting a little something that the opponent wasn't thinking about, or not getting a good sleep the night before, something happened at home. Like Toddzilla is the type of person where no matter what happens, he will not actually give you any fucking excuses. He's just, well, that's just how it was. He was better than me that day. I got to get strong. He will not tell you if something is going on in his personal life, if something happened to him. You have no fucking clue, right? So, and to me, it didn't look like that was a Toddzilla that we usually see. Like something just seemed off. Like I don't know what it was. So I don't know if we can really compare that Toddzilla with the Toddzilla that pulled Prudnik. Also, the Toddzilla that pulled Devon, when Devon had pulled him, Devon was about 255 at the time, and Toddzilla was 245 pounds at the time. 240 pounds. Like that was a lot bigger version of Toddzilla than what I believe we've seen pull Prudnik. And Toddzilla, 245 pound Toddzilla and a 235 pound Toddzilla, there's a huge fucking difference between those two human beings, right? So I don't know. I don't really know, but to me, when I was grabbing on with Prudnik, feeling his hand, you can tell a lot about a person just by grabbing onto their hand. I didn't feel anything absolutely extraordinary or out of this fucking world. Like, holy shit, this guy is a freak. And I do feel somewhat of that when I do grip up with Devon.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like there's a difference there, right? So yeah, I don't know. It's hard to say, but yeah, I don't think Prudnik's going to beat Devon. I don't think so.
Have you seen the practice poll between them? That was like 1.5 months ago.
Like 6 seconds of it, I think, that everybody else has seen, and that's it. So yeah.
My one question to the elite arm wrestlers, there is this one interaction between the guys that are actually arm wrestlers and then people like me who are not actually arm wrestlers but YouTubers who talk a lot about arm wrestling. Then there are this third party that is just arm wrestling fans. They do not have a YouTube channel or something. I believe guys like me are somewhere in between, kind of a bridge between the communication, getting interviews with arm wrestlers like you. So the question is, I always hear whenever poor guys like me try to make some comparisons from practice pulls, then everyone is like, well, are you silly? Have you ever arm wrestled? It is a practice pull. It doesn't matter anything. And those same elite level arm wrestlers, I'm not going to take any names here. Now they are like, we have seen the practice pull between Prudnik and Devon. Devon is going to kill Prudnik. So like, where is that phrase, practice pulls don't matter? Like, where is it now? Every arm wrestler now somehow believes in practice pulls, that they can mean a lot. What do you have to say about that?
Yes and no. There's a big difference. It all depends on like practice pulls. Like if someone's all of a sudden smashing somebody, it's oh my god, that guy's so fucking strong. But we don't know how long that person was on the table prior to when they got onto the table with that individual, right? Mm-hmm. So that's where the whole, you know what I mean, thing you can't go off of. I think with a lot of people, holy shit, Devon's slowing down Prudnik. I think Devon's got this now is because people are looking at the fact that Devon was arm wrestling every fucking day for 3.5 weeks prior to when he pulled Prudnik.
Still looking comfortable.
How much training or how wore down Prudnik was, we're not sure. But off of anticipation, Prudnik was a lot fresher than Devon because people didn't see 500 videos of Prudnik pulling for 3-4 weeks prior to that. The amount of pulling that Devon had done prior to meeting Prudnik, Devon should have been a fucking bag of mashed potatoes. The fact that beat up of a Devon was still able to show somewhat of a strength level comparable to Prudnik. After that much pulling, it's like, holy shit, what's this motherfucker gonna do if he is healed?
Fresh,
right?
Yeah.
So there's different scenarios, right? Like you got times where they're like, oh my god, look what fucking they just did to Devon. He's got to be fucking, the dude's on the next fucking level. He's the next fucking Brzenk. It's unbelievable what this kid fucking did to him. But there was 6 fucking weeks prior to that where the man was on the fucking table 4 hours a fucking day, right? So, you know.
Yeah, I think you summarized it like really amazingly. And I also think that the only problem with practice pulls is that you do not know who is fresh and who isn't. And in this situation, we kind of knew that Devon wasn't fresh. He was pulling for 5-6 hours every day for more than a week, and he still did okay with Prudnik. This is, I think, why it may be a fair assumption on their part that everyone is saying that Devon is going to win this match. And on Prudnik,
for all we know, Prudnik could have done 300 fucking wrist curls before Devon walked in, right? But that wasn't on video, right? Nobody's seen that, right?
I agree.
No.
And same thing for Prudnik. The weapon, the main weapon that he is going to have is probably going to his speed, his explosivity. And in practice pulls, there isn't any explosivity and speed. Like you're kind of easing it into your move. So maybe that can be a negative part on him. So let's see how it goes. My prediction is I'm also thinking that Devon might pull this off because he was so keen on getting this match. Earlier, he was saying, yeah, maybe I can make it to East versus West in January. And Engin was like, no, you have to come in January. And Devon was like, yeah, I'll try. But as soon as he got this match offered, he heard that Michael Todd is out. Then Devon was immediately like, I want this match. So maybe he clearly felt something that we don't know, and he pulled it off. He's going to East versus West, and I think he's really, really confident that he's going to win.
Yeah, I agree with you. Yeah, I think he felt something. He felt the hole in there in the armor. So, but again, like you said, practice pulling, there is no quick snaps, there is no hits, there is no, none of that going on. So, and that's another reason why when you have the controversy, like, oh, you can't go based off after pulling because you don't have the adrenaline level in there. You don't have that quick hit, that quick snap. You got some people on practice pulls, they're all calm, but they get to a table where it's competition time and they're rev right the fuck up, right? So there's different, different levels of strength where people are when they're practice pulling or they're tournament pulling, right? So just because of the adrenaline levels and everything else that are involved with that too. So, but.
And final match that we are going to talk about, Ermes Gasparini versus Dave Chaffee. Ermes was scheduled to pull Jerry, but Jerry got injured while wrapping out over 500 pounds on a bench press. So the replacement is Dave Chaffee. With like 3 weeks notice, Dave said, yes, I'm willing to pull. Who do you think is going to win this match and why?
I'm so fucking up in the air on both of these guys right now. Like, I don't know. I love them both. Like, I think Dave is Dave. Dave's the most humble fucking human being on the fucking planet. Ermes, I didn't really care much for him after our bout we had with WL. Over the last couple of years, talked to him a few more times. I'm actually starting to get to know him. I'm starting to like him a lot more.
Yeah.
The potential that Ermes has is outstanding. Dave, we've just noticed during Vertali, after just powering through people and powerhousing through people for fucking 10, 15 fucking years, Dave looks like he's actually be able to learn how to arm wrestle. He's not just grabbing people and pushing to the pad. He's maneuvering around the table. He's getting a little more finesseful. He doesn't just have one weapon. So I really don't know what the fuck to think about this match. Like, I'm super excited to watch this one. The thing is Dave's hand is like fucking iron. Dave has a massive, strong, thick fucking hand. And now we just seen that Dave can pull without his fucking hand.
Yeah.
Ermes has a fucking hand like fucking iron as well. Super, super strong fucking hand. Tons retarded fucking back pressure. His rise is insane. But he can't pull without a hand.
Yeah.
If Ermes' hand goes negative in any way whatsoever, it's fucking over. So, and we witnessed that when I pulled. You know what I mean? I don't have the arm strength that Ermes has, but as soon as I cracked his wrist, it was done. So that is where it all depends on where this match is going to go. If Dave's hand is strong enough to match Ermes and he can crack his wrist in any way, it's Dave's match all fucking day long. But if Ermes cracks Dave's wrist and he gets him over, that's where Ermes has a chance. But Dave is now a motherfucker that can pull without a wrist that he wasn't really able to before. He was still able to always side pressure, but now he's committing his shoulder and everything else a lot more. He's crowding the table. He's staying a lot tighter. This is where it gets interesting, right? So I really don't know what the fuck's going to happen. But Ermes' ability to be able to take somebody's wrist and then transition into that press is really fucking good too, right? Yeah. So I really don't know. I'm 50-50 on this one. Like, if you're going to give me $100 to bet, I'd bet on one of them. 30 seconds later, I'd be pulling that money off and I'd be putting it on the other person just because it could go either freaking way. So I honestly, I don't know. You know what I mean? And I like both of these guys, but I really don't fucking know on this. So I'm like completely up in the air on it. Yeah. So
I'd like to mention 3 points about what you just said. And first point is, you clearly mentioned that Ermes doesn't have a game if his wrist goes back, and Dave can pull without his wrist. But I don't think we have seen Dave pull without his wrist as well when he's on the losing side. We have seen him in this position without his wrist. What if Ermes takes him here? Have you ever seen Dave pull out a win from this position? I don't think so.
Well, yeah, I don't know, right? Like, it's so, like, I don't know where to go with it. But the thing is if Dave gets here, if Dave can still transition his shoulder in behind, whether he's in a winning or he's in a losing position, once that shoulder is committed, that's a fucking strong man, a big man you got to push through, right? So it's like, I really do not know. I really don't know which way to go with this one. I really don't know. So, and I think majority of it has to do with who's going to have the better hand at the beginning. If Dave's hand can match Ermes, I'm going to have to go with Dave. So, and Dave has a really fucking strong fucking hand. Like, Dave has one of the most intimidating hands I'd ever felt, and it was at WL event, but still just going up and shaking his hand, and it was just like, what in the fuck, right? Like, it felt like he had an anvil in his fucking hand. So it's Dave's hand might be strong enough to match Ermes, right? Yeah. So it's if he can apply enough down pressure to contain Ermes' rise, is what I feel.
Right. And the second point that I wanted to mention, you clearly said that you had Ermes as the favorite against Jerry, but on this one, to me, it looks like you're very slightly leaning towards Dave, maybe a 55-45. This is what my assumption is from what you're saying. And the third point is, you're talking about Dave getting behind his arm and pressing through. Yes, he did that to Vitaly even in the first round. But Ermes he has a much shorter arm, more compact, more solid arm. So yes, everyone can do that press if we are already into the third, fourth round and everyone is gassed out. Then you are completely using a separate muscle group. You get behind the shoulder and you can press through. But in the first or maybe in the second round, I don't think Dave can do that to Ermes, because Ermes, like, it is not about me saying whether he has lost like that or not, but Ermes has never lost when he's taken someone's wrist. Never in his career. Like, he just simply doesn't lose.
No,
he just doesn't.
Yeah.
So same thing for Vitaly. It was a long arm and like lifting Dave's entire body up, literally trying to escape that press. It was a difficult thing, but I think it may be possible. So I think if somebody like makes a guess on this, I think I can say with some amount of confidence that Dave cannot press through Ermes without a wrist. I don't think Dave has a chance. He has a very good chance.
Like you had mentioned, later rounds is when Dave was starting to commit more with the press. Yeah. There's not many people that can match Dave's strength in the early rounds either.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And
only Levan for now.
Dave
we have seen
comes
only
in
Levan
strong enough in that first round or two, enough to crack Ermes' wrist and take Ermes down. If he cracks Ermes' wrist, Ermes is going down instantly.
Yeah, that can happen all day. It can happen 3 times.
Without a doubt, Ermes is going down instantly if Dave can crack Ermes' wrist.
Yeah.
So there's not going to be a whole lot of time for Ermes to get Dave starting to get gassed a little bit, right? Mm-hmm. You know, so it's like, I'm so back and forth with this one. This is probably the most exciting match on the card, if you ask me. Like, by far, this is the most exciting match on the card, because it could, in my eyes, it could go either fucking way.
Yeah.
So,
and maybe we are going to see a war once again. Not many people are expecting a war here, just like the Vitaly match. Everyone was saying, yes, this is a very close match. Anyone can win this match, but it is going to end fast either way. Either Dave is going to just go through him, or Vitaly is just going to flash pin him. But that wasn't the case. People are saying the same thing about this match as well. Maybe we are going to see a war once again.
And people are talking about that Ermes is so strong right now, and Ermes is seeing how strong he is. We're going to find out in the first 2 rounds exactly how strong Ermes has actually gotten. Yeah. Because in my eyes, besides Levan, Dave Chaffee is the strongest arm wrestler on the planet right now. Yeah. Today, besides Levan, there's nobody, I believe, that can match Dave's power to power strength, center of the table, ready, go. I don't think there's a single fucking man on the planet that can match him. So,
and Levan will also be watching this match carefully, because there are talks that I'm not sure if Dave is going to get a match, but earlier they were saying that if Ermes beats Jerry or Jerry beats Ermes, the winner is going to face Levan at King of the Table 6 in February. Like, this is not officially announced, but I think we've heard enough about it. So the same thing goes for this match. If Ermes wins, I think he's for sure going to get a match against Levan and in February, King of the Table. But I'm not sure if it is the same if Dave wins, because Levan has already beaten Dave 6-0. So then maybe we're not going to see a Levan Saginashvili match, or maybe we will with Dave Chaffee. But let's see how that goes. And in this match, like, this is one of the matches that I'm really looking forward to, and I hope it is a really good match. So I think, Matt, that was about it. Any final message that you have for our viewers?
Not much, man. Not much. Don't forget to subscribe.
Yeah. And some of the clips will be on Matt's channel as well. So please look out for that. And I'd like to say one thing before I thank you, Matt, is that there are many arm wrestlers that claim to be real person. They say that we talk real talk, but I sometimes see that they're not. You are genuinely one of the most real person that I've seen on the internet in the arm wrestling community. So I really like that thing about you. And thank you very much for giving your valuable time. I know we talked about like an hour and it is almost 1.5 hours, but I hope the conversation was well. And once again, have a great match. I wish you best of luck. I hope you win at East versus West. And thanks, brother.
Yeah, you bet. Time flies when you're having fun, eh? So.
Yeah.
All right, man. Thank you.
Thanks.